Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle and I'm so happy to have you here. Sorry if you can hear the air conditioner back there. It's been going nonstop all summer because it's been 100 degrees days on end, but now it's a little bit cooler, so I'm just reading outside. I thought it'd be a nice time to start a reading vlog because I'm going to North Carolina tomorrow and plan on reading a bunch by our friend's pool and just hanging out. So I started The Awakening by Kate Chopin for my Book of Tomes book club with Emmy and Carolyn Marie Reads, and I'm loving it. This is the one we paired with Orlando. Didn't know anything about this one going in, had never heard of it. Kate Chopin sounds really familiar. I think I read something by her in high school, but can't for the life of me remember it. So I just got about 30 pages in and it's amazing, and it's actually a great read for summer. So it's beachy, it takes place in New Orleans, and it's about Mrs. Pontier, who's a wife, and her realizations about how she's lived her life in isolation and not really being her true self. And I'm loving it, and it's hitting so hard. Let me read a couple of the quotes I marked already. An indescribable oppression, which seemed to generate in some unfamiliar part of her consciousness, filled her whole being with a vague anguish. It was like a shadow, like a mist passing across her soul's summer day. It was strange and unfamiliar. It was a mood. She did not sit there inwardly upbraiding her husband, lamenting at fate, which had directed her footsteps to the path which they had taken. She was just having a good cry all to herself. The mosquitoes made merry over her, biting her firm, round arms and nipping at her bare insteps. And then another one. But the beginning of things, of a world especially, is necessarily vague, tangled, chaotic, and exceedingly disturbing. How few of us ever emerge from such beginning? How many souls perish in its tumults? The voice of the sea is seductive, never ceasing, whispering, clamoring, murmuring, inviting the soul to wander for a spell in abysses of solitude, to lose itself in mazes of inward contemplation. The voice of the sea speaks to the soul. The touch of the sea is sensuous, enfolding the body in its soft, close embrace. I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of this one and taking it along, so hopefully it's a good reading month, reading week.
The tank is right there. And then the septic field runs up this way and goes that way. Your septic field, that kind of makes sense.
Australia, and I had the bricks in front of me, and I said to my girlfriend at the time,
Jack, do you want to say hi? Say hi to the vlog. Hello from North Carolina. Ryan and I made it in really early on Saturday morning. We left a little bit late because he had to work and I was just in Michigan, had a busy week, was still packing up. But the real culprit was we got stuck in stopped traffic for 2 hours. Ended up being okay. We started Beartown by Frederick Bachman on audiobook. We've been really enjoying that one. It's about a small hockey town in Sweden or Finland. I need to look it up again. I can't remember. I liked Anxious People a lot better, I can already tell, but it's definitely enjoyable. Then we've really just had a chill weekend. I've done some crafts, haven't done that in forever, and it was really fun. I tried acrylic pouring for the first time and made a couple things for my office, so I'm really excited about that. I also used a Cricut for the first time. Yesterday we made it to the Art of the Lego exhibit that's currently in North Carolina and has been traveling around. I thought that was cool. I thought it was even cooler because he was a lawyer that also did art and later pivoted, so I thought that was great. And I do have reading updates. I've had some time to read and I started Accidentally Engaged. We actually read the first 2 chapters in the parking lot on I-70 before we switched over to the audiobook because I was like, holy smokes, I just can't read this much, but also because Ryan discovered he was not a romance reader fairly quickly. But this one is about our protagonist Raina, who loves to bake bread and is dreaming of going to an artisan baking school. And then the main guy character is Nadim, and her parents brought him over to work for the family company, and they're trying to set Raina and Nadim up. Now, of course, her friends found this baking competition. She would get a scholarship to the baking school she wants to go to, but the catch is you need to be a couple, so you need to be married or engaged. So they end up drunkenly making this cooking video together and submitting it, and they become finalists. So they decide to do this cooking show together, and I'm 130 pages in. I made it to chapter 13. I'm really enjoying this. This is the first romance novel I've enjoyed since I was reading YA romance novels, so I hope it keeps up. It's just been a nice, light, fun read, and I forget how easy it is when you have a book. You can just pick up and read it and you're not trying to annotate or anything like that. I'm still reading The Awakening. Haven't read any of that since we've got here, but I did read a little bit more since that first clip. I am loving it, and I think it'll be perfect. We're gonna go to the beach for a day, and it's very beachy, very August, and I didn't expect that, so I'm excited. I want to keep swimming a little bit. It's hot, so it's nice to have the pool. There are a lot of cats around. The black and white one is Oreo, and he comes inside sometimes and he's not that snuggly, but he's pretty friendly. He'll let you pet him. And then Jack is like their cat, the cat that saved the house from a fire. This cat deserves to be worshipped above all ends. And then there are 3 or 4 other ones that pop around, and I think they're the neighbors, but they're fun. I'm back. I'm sunned. They're working on cars over there, if you can hear a noise. But made pretty good progress and accidentally engaged. I'm now on chapter 21, so I'm almost 200 pages in. So that's been good. It did get steamy. I spoke too soon. Almost immediately after I said that, I got very steamy. And then I decided to switch over and read more of The Awakening, and I wasn't expecting this to be such a perfect August read, but it takes place in August. They're down south, they're in Louisiana, not North Carolina, but they're like mentioning the South, and I'm like, I'm from Michigan, okay, so this is very south for me. But yeah, I'm still loving this. I have another passage that I highlighted. There were days when she was very happy without knowing why. She was happy to be alive and breathing, when her whole being seemed to be one with the sunlight, the color, the odors, the luxuriant warmth of some perfect southern day. She liked then to wander alone into strange and unfamiliar places. She discovered many a sunny, sleepy corner fashioned to dream in, and she found it good to dream and to be alone and unmolested. There were days when she was unhappy. She did not know why, when it did not seem worthwhile to be glad or sorry, to be alive or dead, when life appeared to her like a grotesque pandemonium and humanity like worms struggling blindly toward inevitable annihilation. She could not work on such a day, nor weave fancies to stir her pulses and warm her blood. So now I'm getting into this further. I saw that one Orlando reference with time, and that was a really clear connection, but I'm feeling more like To the Lighthouse. I think that would be a better novel to compare it to. I didn't end up rereading that one. March, it was around the time I was rereading Catcher in the Rye, and I read a couple chapters and just didn't feel like rereading it. The main character, Edna, Mrs. Pontier, she's painting, and I'm to the part where she's like, I'm gonna be an artist, a painter now. She's always been painting, but now she's like, I feel like painting, I feel like creating, I'm going to do that. And Lily's painting, and painting is such a huge part of To the Lighthouse and representation of modern life in there, as well as Mrs. Pontier really reminds me of Mrs. Ramsey in a different way. Mrs. Ramsey very much cares about her children, represents the Victorian age, whereas Mrs. Pontier is a clear break from that, where she's like, I want to be my own person, I want to be my own self, and that's her awakening. And there's a part where she says, I would do anything for my children, but I wouldn't die for them, I wouldn't give myself for them, essentially. And the person she's talking to, the woman she's talking to, thinks that's so strange and odd. So very cool to see that. I can already tell this is going to be a new favorite, right up there along with Wolf. So I'm very, very happy with that. I just sunscreened myself, so I'm sure I'm shiny as hell, but better than being burnt. I did pretty good yesterday. I have reading updates from The Awakening. I don't think, ugh, even my hands are, I don't want to touch my book. Anyway, I don't think I read any more of Accidentally Engaged since I last updated the vlog, maybe like a chapter before bed. But that was about it for that one. I read another chapter, I think, of The Awakening before I ended up going to bed. And this morning I read 30 pages. I'm still loving this one, and it's still really, really reminding me of To the Lighthouse, more so than Orlando. I don't think this book is really that similar to Orlando if you're going to be comparing The Awakening to a Virginia Woolf book. So I'm going to read 2 more passages, and then I have a place that I marked where this is To the Lighthouse. Oh, I lost my face. Sorry if the angle's changing. I'm propping it up against the umbrella, and for some reason it's tilting forward. But I have 2 more quotes that I wanted to read. So the first is, "It was not despair, but it seemed to her as if life were passing by, leaving its promise broken and unfulfilled. Yet there were other days when she listened, was led on and deceived by fresh promises which her youth held out to her." Ah, so good. And then the second one I wanted to read is the Penguin Classics edition has a bird on the cover with a woman, and this quote definitely speaks to that cover, and I just loved it. She's quoting her one friend, and the friend told her, "The bird that would soar above the level plane of tradition and prejudice must have strong wings. It is a sad spectacle to see the weaklings, bruised, exhausted, fluttering back to earth." The quote was so heartbreaking, but basically it's so hard to break from tradition. Oh, somebody's back. Maybe they're done with their lawn working. They all have really big, loud trucks. Anyways, but woman throwing off tradition, and just how heartbreaking it is because usually they don't succeed. The boys are back and they're gonna come swimming, so I'll just wrap this up real quick. As I was saying, before I was rudely interrupted, this book is really similar and different to the Lighthouse, so I think it's more interesting to compare The Awakening and To the Lighthouse than The Awakening in Orlando. And Edna and her similarities and differences between Mrs. Ramsay from To the Lighthouse. So this passage right here, there was something in her attitude, in her whole appearance, when she leaned her head against the high back chair and spread her arms, which suggested the regal woman, the one who rules, who looks on, who stands alone. So essentially, Edna, Mrs. Pontier, she's throwing this last party. She's moving house. It's part of her awakening. She's becoming independent and individual. So she's throwing this last party and things ending, and at the end of the first section of To the Lighthouse, there's another dinner party that Mrs. Ramsay's throwing, and it's representing the end of the Victorian era and the move into this modern time. So that's really parallel, and further in that passage, Mrs. Ramsay is compared to a queen, a portrait of Queen Elizabeth, I believe. So just super similar there. I don't have my copy of To the Lighthouse, otherwise I'd do more of an analysis, but I'm really happy that we read this one. I'm excited to finish it. I have about 20 pages left. We're going to the beach tomorrow, so I'm hoping to finish it on the beach. I feel like it's maybe not the best move to bring 2 books to the beach, and this one's kind of nice, but I did get it used, so we'll see. this is the most disgusting copy I've ever seen of Sienna on you. We decided to skip the beach and go on a little book shopping adventure instead. So I thought we could do a little haul here. We just went to 2 stores and I had good luck at the used bookstore, so I was excited. But first we just went to a Barnes & Noble. It was really nice, like new, fancy. I liked how they had it organized. They had a Penguin cloth bound section and it wasn't that big, but very efficiently used space. So my one at home, my fiance said it's kind of like a football field. It's just this giant building that's like pretty much empty and then has some shelves in it. But this one like felt very organized, so I was pleased. I got one there. I'd really prefer Not to Be Here With You by Juliana Baggett. I picked up quite a few that I was thinking about getting, but I wasn't really willing to spend a lot of money on new books yesterday, especially because I don't know how soon I'm gonna get to be reading them. And they actually had a really good sale going on. They had 50% off, but it wasn't all hardcovers. It was a lot of hardcovers, and this one was $5 off for members. I took the sticker off because why would you do that to me? This one really drew my attention because first, look at the cover. The pink, the yellow, the little frog. I met a little frog friend the other day, but it's like iridescent and raised, so it's very pretty. But I read the description and it sounds a lot like Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. It's a bunch of short stories, and I think they kind of go together, but they feel a little bit sci-fi-y, dystopian-y. And it says, this fantastical collection from a unique voice contains a myriad of stories of the weird and wonderful. So I was sold. I hope that this is good. And ooh, I didn't even look under the dust jacket. Look at this. This is okay. I'm very happy about this one. This one's so pretty. Also from Barnes & Noble, I picked up a planner. It has a little bee on it. I took off the little thing, but it starts now. In my planners, I've been doing the academic year one instead of the normal year one, so it starts now, and then it has all of 2024. So I figure now I can get on to a better planner schedule now that I'm not in school all the time. So next we went to a used bookstore. It's called Mr. Mike's Used Books in Cary, and I got 4 books there, so I was pretty happy. I found Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf by Edward Albee. I've been meaning to read this one forever, have never read it, but with all the Woolf I'm reading, I'm like, this will be good. I'm thinking I'm gonna read this one and the next one in October as sort of spoopy reads. Next, I got The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I loved We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Read that one in 9th grade English. It was amazing, and a lot of people have been reading this lately, talking about it lately because it's a TV show. My friend said that she loves this book, and it's just a nice short one. It was a nice Penguin edition, so I'm excited about this one. The next one was a very good find because this is the next book club book, yet another book club for me. But my one friend wanted to do it. She's really into historical fiction, and my other friend said this is his favorite book. So it's Cold Mountain by Charles Fraser. I started this one last night just a little bit. I really like the writing style so far because it's a hefty one, and the book discussion is in September. It's only a month per book, and they've been picking some pretty big books. The last one was The Rose Code, which I thought about reading, but like listening to on audiobook, but I just never got to it. Wasn't really in an audiobook mood. So yeah, that's this one, and Ryan's gonna read this one with me, so I'm really excited because he's the historical fiction, nonfiction reader, so that'll be good. And the last one I picked up, I'm hoping it's really cute. It's Peach Fuzz. I saw a girl with her little ferret on there, and it just sounds fun and light. It's a little manga graphic novel. Then I have a few reading updates. I read a bit more of Accidentally Engaged last night. It's kind of getting a bit repetitive. They're doing round 3 last night, but luckily the last round's coming up. So round 3, kind of like round 2, I don't know. But making it through that, I'm on a mission to finish it before we go home tomorrow. And I have about 100 pages left, so I think I can pull that one off. And then I'm also almost done with The Awakening. So I was just reading this one this morning, and I'm still loving it. I have 1 chapter left, so this is going to be a 5-star read for me, and loving it. So I'm going to go finish The Awakening, eat some of our copious leftovers for lunch, and then probably read some more. I finished it. 5 stars, easily 5 stars. Not more favorite than Mrs. Dalloway, but definitely way up there. So one last passage that I wanted to read near the end. Oh, it started raining a bit, so you can see some little raindrops. Sorry. Okay. Despondency had come upon her there in the wakeful night, and had never lifted. There was not one thing in the world that she desired. There was no human being whom she wanted near her except Robert, and she even realized that the day would come when he too, and the thought of him, would melt out of her existence, leaving her alone. The children appeared before her like antagonists who had overcome her, who had overpowered and sought to drive her into the soul slavery for the rest of her days. But she knew a way to elude them. She was not thinking of these things when she walked down to the beach. The water of the Gulf stretched out before her, gleaming with the million lights of the sun. The voice of the sea is seductive, never ceasing, whispering, clamoring, murmuring, inviting the soul to wander in abysses of solitude. All along the white beach, up and down, there was no living thing in sight. A bird with a broken wing was beating the air above, reeling, fluttering, circling, disabled, down to the water. That's not the end of the book, and I won't spoil it if you do end up reading it, even though I had a ton of spoilers in this video. But yeah, that line where it goes back to the other part where they're talking about the sea, the relation to when she goes into the sea and her awakening, and that bird, the return of the bird imagery, and she's failed to break tradition, and how sad that is. And I loved it. It was brilliant. Kate Chopin, phenomenal. I just finished Accidentally Engaged. It was super cute. I'm glad I picked this up in a random book box. I was very pleasantly surprised. I don't normally go for romance, but I thought it was sweet, it was cute, it wasn't sickly sweet, there wasn't too much miscommunication. There was a lot about family and baking, and very wholesome. Would highly recommend this one. I think that's gonna be it for the vlog today. Thanks for coming along on my vacation and seeing what I read, and I'll see you in the next one.